Welcome to another interview with the dead. With us today is an iconic, historic figure, the late Prime Minister of Britain, known to many as the British Bulldog. He has been dead for more than 60 years, and this will be his first interview since he passed away in 1965. Welcome, Sir Winston Churchill, and thank you for agreeing to this interview, which, unfortunately, will have to be short. I understand that you have a game of poker and you would like to be on time. Sir Winston, thank you for joining us. It is a real pleasure.
This is entirely very interesting and new. I didn't know I could be interviewed by the living. I imagine this has been made possible by technological development. I see what the living are doing. I do watch a lot of television, and I am amazed by how things have developed. Cars without drivers, each individual carrying their own television set and television station in a small device the size of a pack of cigarettes, and planes faster than the speed of sound. Tell me, who do you work for, and who will be seeing this interview, and your name, please? I like to know who I am talking to.
Sure, Sir Winston. My name is Silvia Benefata. I am an independent Brazilian journalist working from London. Our YouTube channel has a wide distribution. We are new, but we have already interviewed a number of people, including Abraham Lincoln, Fidel Castro, and many other dead celebrities. We will be interviewing Mark Twain tomorrow. I am sure this interview will be seen by thousands.
I see. Brazil. So they sent me someone from a banana republic. Couldn't they have sent me an Englishman? Or at least a Scot? All right. Let us proceed.
I see, Sir Winston, that you haven't changed. Note that Brazil today is not the Brazil of your times. First, the sun nowadays sets on the British Empire. In fact, the British hardly see the sun. And Brazil today has a much bigger economy than Britain. But I assume you said that in fun. Sir Winston, how, looking back, do you see your legacy?
Dear Sylvia, I was not entirely serious about Brazil being a banana republic. I have seen pictures of your beaches and always wanted to visit. As to the legacy, I believe one should not be overly concerned with that matter. I was called upon to serve my country in its darkest hour, and I believe I succeeded. However, unfortunately, history is not always written by the victor, as people seem to believe. It is written and rewritten by leftist, Marxist professors working in universities, who won't rest until they make us all look bad.
Yes, we do have some of the best beaches in the world. I miss them. What do you remember most vividly from the Second World War?
The nights of the Blitz, when London burned and our people stood unbroken. The lonely years when Britain stood alone. And the great relief when our American cousins joined us. It was then that victory became not just possible, but inevitable. You probably know that Brazil also participated in the war by sending about 25,000 troops to fight the fascists in Italy. The years of the war and the years leading to the war are etched vividly in my mind. The arguments with colleagues in Parliament who wanted to appease Hitler and the negotiations with Roosevelt to make the Americans recognize the importance of standing up against Germany. The suffering of our people and the daily tragic reports of the deaths of our troops. They all remain vivid.
I see, Sir Winston, a very tragic time indeed. You are celebrated for leadership, but also criticized for your views on imperialism and race. Do you consider those views today as mistakes?
Mistakes? Well, my life was not free of misjudgment. Gallipoli in the First War was a bitter lesson. My views on empire and India are often reproached. But if one waits to be flawless before acting, one will never act at all. I preferred to err in action than to shrink in timidity. As to my views on imperialism and race, they were built on science. They were not personal whim.
Built on science? That's interesting. I think that is just plain racism. I wish I could quote some of the things you have said about Indians, Arabs, Africans, as well as about less affluent nations everywhere. The statements are so offensive that the handlers have asked us not to mention them in this interview. You would never get away with that today.
Dear Sylvia, you may be pretty, But you are a simple person, regurgitating silly ideas as if they were deep thoughts. Look, your former president, Bolsonaro, and the American president, Trump, both think like I did. They even say it. Now, Trump is attacked by his own people because he and his supporters are hicks. We would call them yokels. Leftist elites don't like hicks, so they disdain him and his supporters. But they are wrong in doing so. This is all science. Survival of the fittest, as Charles Darwin would have said. Why don't you interview him? I see him around sometimes.
Maybe you are right. Racist sentiments or entitlement continue to exist. But there is nothing scientific about it. Maybe you should reconsider your views. But what we have learned from our interviews with the dead is that it is impossible for the dead to change. They are what they were. But maybe living historians should do a better job of telling how things were in the early decades of the 20th century, when European colonization, mostly British, French, and Belgian, literally killed tens of millions of people in Asia and Africa. And when also in the United States, as late as the 40s and 50s, Blacks were still being lynched in the thousands, and Blacks, even in the 50s and 60s, still could not go to school with whites in many states, could not drink from the same water fountain, or enter a white-only restaurants. The conventional narrative of World War II is that the freedom-loving Allies were fighting the bad, racist Germans, but both sides were racist murderers.
I see. You have been reading those leftist professors and believing what they say. If you expect me to feel bad or guilty, you're knocking at the wrong door. Like I said, this was built on science. If you want, why don't you interview Charles Darwin, or better yet, Herbert Spencer, or even better, a more modern figure, Edward Wilson, who died just a few years ago. I see all of them at the pub occasionally. They will explain survival of the fittest for you.
I have read Wilson's book on sociobiology, but like the saying goes, no two people read the same book. I think I will try to talk to Charles Darwin. I will see if the handlers can set that up. It must be interesting for you, and the dead in general, to meet with famous celebrities from different epochs. Can you tell where you are? Heaven? Hell? Or does everyone end up in the same place? If Hitler is where you are, I assume that would be hell.
Yes, Hitler is here, but he doesn't seem to be unhappy. He's watching American war movies all the time, so maybe this is how he is being tortured, I don't know. The joke here is that the cooks are British, the urban planners Israelis, and the police Italian. But I wish the cooks were indeed British, because what they do is what they call international cuisine. Every day is some national menu. Horrible stuff. There are also a lot of clergy from various faiths. Some go around praying and even preaching. I don't understand why they bother, since we are all already dead. It is not what I expected. I think you should also interview Hitler. We also heard that Jeffrey Epstein will be joining us soon. You can ask him if he committed suicide or was offed by the CIA or the Mossad.
I would love to interview Jeffrey Epstein, but the handlers won't allow us to interview the recently dead. The handlers told us the interview had to be short because you had scheduled a poker play. Who do you play poker with? Old friends or new ones? Not for money, right? Sir Winston, any ideas about the world today? Do you watch the news, and if so, any comments, suggestions for our current world leaders? I am sure they would love to hear from you.
I play poker with Truman, Stalin, and some other old acquaintances. No money is involved, but we pay up in cigars. Hitler hates smoking of any kind, so he never joins us. Do I have any advice for current leaders? Avoid war. That is my main advice. I think the Americans are itching for war. They are spending all that money on the military, and the current leadership seems to be flexing their muscles and eager to show their might. The main danger today lies in the United States. They want states that border China and Russia to be under Washington's sphere of influence, and speak of Latin America as if theirs. They seem unable to accept a world where states in Europe, Middle East, and Latin America are independent. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Who am I to be talking this way? But you asked for my opinion, and that is it. And stop reading leftist propaganda.
Thank you, Sir Winston, for your comments about our world and for your reading suggestions. I am going to start by reading a few more of your books for which you were awarded the 1953 Nobel Prize for Literature. My apologies for forgetting to mention that at the beginning of the interview. In fact, I have already read The Gathering Storm and The Grand Alliance, but you have written 70 or so volumes, so I still have a lot to go. I have really enjoyed meeting you, and I know that our viewers will be delighted to hear from you. I want to apologize for the technical problem we had in the last few minutes of the interview, but I believe the dead technicians did a wonderful job, and I want to thank them and the whole dead crew. See you all soon in another of our conversations with the dead. Bye-bye for now.